Welcome to Brilliantly British. My name is Lawrence and today I'm going to show you how to make a Manchester tart. So, as I show you how to make it, sit back, relax, please, putting your feet up too, with a cup of tea in hand and enjoy this episode. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. The city of Manchester is famous for its football teams, bands, and this, the Manchester tart. This understated, elegant tart is distinctly like no other, combining jam, bananas, a light fluffy custard, and coconut for a fulfilling Northern English treat. In this episode, we'll be showing you how to make this fantastic dessert with quick and easy steps, but before we do, with your interest piquing, allow me to introduce the ingredients to you. For today's Brilliantly British Manchester tart, you will need some full fat milk, some butter, ideally homemade Brilliantly British butter. You'll need some eggs, desiccated coconut, some caster sugar, a banana, some heavy whipping cream, vanilla, some cornstarch or corn flour, some plain white flour, some homemade raspberry jam. Follow the link up there to learn how to make your own jam at home yourselves. And of course, to avoid the occurrence of bland food, you will just need a pinch of salt. That's it for the making of today's Brilliantly British Manchester tart. But before you get started, before you do anything at all, I say switch on your kettle, brew yourself a nice cup of hot tea so that you can sip on that whilst you bake. For the creation of this Mancunian masterpiece, begin to gently heat a mixture of milk and heavy cream with a pinch of salt in a saucepan over a medium-low heat, followed by a sip of the good stuff. Then, in a bowl or jug, add vanilla, sugar and corn flour to some egg yolks before homogenizing with a whisk. And then please, keep yourself loose and active by swiveling those hips. You'll want to ideally heat the cream and milk to 85 degrees C. Otherwise, wait until the sides start to froth up in your pan. But with your creamy milk at the right temperature, gradually, whilst whisking, trickle it into your custard base for tempering. After combining both elements, return the mixture to your pan and over a medium heat, whisk continuously whilst hydrating until the egg yolks and corn flour cook, or when it reaches a temperature of 85 degrees C, with the result being a silky smooth and glossy custard. With the custard cooked, take the time to sweeten the custard further if necessary, then transfer to a bowl or jug which should be left to cool completely before making sure to clean your utensils thoroughly thereafter. Now, a Manchester tart requires perfect short crust pastry, so in a food processor or a bowl, combine flour, salt and cubes of butter until sand-like in texture. Then gradually add spoons full of water at a time to cohesively combine the dry ingredients, crucially adding just enough to form a ball of dough. If using a food processor, increase the intervals between spoons of water as more water is added. With the dough made, I prized it out and allowed it to rest, sealed in my fridge for at least 30 minutes. Doing that will leave you with ample time to rehydrate and carry out research for your next Brilliantly British recipe, without forgetting to like and subscribe. With the dough well and truly rested, begin preheating your oven. Then, on a well-floured surface, roll out the dough to a thickness of 5 millimeters, keeping it as round as possible. The pastry, with some finesse, should then be laid atop and then tucked into your tart pan. With the pastry in place, to prevent bubbling, prick the base and sides of the pastry, then follow on by covering with a sheet of baking paper or foil and a helping of rice, lentils, or better still, baking beans. With all that done, blind bake the pastry for 15 minutes. Uncover, trim off any excesses with your hands or a rolling pin. Then bake for a further 15 minutes to cook the pastry fully. If after the second bake the pastry appears puffy, with it's still hot and pliable, with the back of a spoon encourage the pastry to settle and cool following the contours of the pan. Allow the pastry to cool for around 15 minutes, which should be ample time for it to stabilize and harden before removing the form. And so, with the pastry taken care of, we'll move on to the next step. The next step entails turning sugar and heavy cream into a bowl, hydrating, then simply whipping the cream to stiff peaks. Beautiful. Recalling the custard from earlier on, which should have now cooled completely, mix and homogenize it thoroughly, then incrementally fold your cream and custard together, being careful not to deflate the cream. I'll then slice a banana, loosen up and work some jam before evenly spreading into my tart base. The sliced banana is then laid within, and of course no one will see this, but take pride in arranging the slices neatly. Atop the contents, turn out your fluffy custard cream or creamy custard, and then finally decoratively blanket with desiccated coconut before taking a moment to stand back and admire the work of your hands. Now, with the tart made and with tea at hand, I think it's now time for tasting, tasting, tasting. All right, let's grab ourselves a slice. We have a slice in hand, a tea within reach. So 3, 2, 1. The filling, the custard cream, it's light. I mean, it's so light it could float away. You've really got to watch this tart. It's beautiful, and the vanilla comes through nicely sweetened. Honestly, I love custard, and if you mix cream, whipped cream with custard, isn't that just the definition of amazing? Then, if that isn't enough for you, there is the banana that comes through, which adds another element to this, which I actually appreciate. I wasn't so sure about, but I actually appreciate it. The jam, the raspberry jam there is great. I mean, it's fruity in contrast with the creamy topping. They really do balance each other out. And then you've got a bit of texture coming through as well, a distinct texture from the desiccated coconut. And of course, let's not forget the very short and crisp short crust pastry, which has been cooked to perfection and rounds everything off, contains all of this. Please look, you have to make this, and of course, have a cup of tea at hand. Perfect. I say, look, as soon as possible, when time allows, make this tart, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for allowing me to show you how to make a Manchester tart. Knowing that you loved this episode, don't forget to click on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you don't miss any of our new releases. Tell everyone you know about the Brilliantly British food on this channel, and follow us on all of the social media platforms that this channel is on, and I will see you next time.